Hey everyone. So in this video today, I want to talk about Mythic Plus and the areas in which I think it is succeeding or being successful this season of The War Within, but also where I think it's fundamentally failing the player base that are engaging with it and interacting with it as a system, and why I think people have had these bad experiences and have been failed by Mythic Plus since its sort of integration into the game, really. Now, a lot of this stems from my own personal experience, a lot of anecdotal stuff I get from people in the community, friends that play the game, but also more recently, I conducted a challenge of bringing 20, 25 Final Fantasy 14 players into World of Warcraft, some of which had never touched the game before, and some just had never raided, as an organized group or had never done heroic or anything like that. So, brought in a bunch of players, first experience interacting with the game, interacting with the system, and a lot of them just had negative things to say about Mythic Plus, about the pug experience, the LFG experience. The big one being struggling to get into content. The other one being, oh, something goes wrong and people just leave. And they're not understanding, like, well, why are people leaving? Why don't we just continue? And why don't we try and complete the dungeon, etc.? And obviously, if you're a core WoW player, then you understand why people are doing what they're doing and stuff. But I want to talk just about the way people are interacting with the system and how there are a lot of negative experiences that people get, and why I think, or my solutions for Blizzard, because I think it's all well and good just talking about a problem, but I also want to talk about areas and things that I think these solutions could come into play. So I've made a little list of just things stating through this list. I'm just going to talk through the pros of Mythic Plus right now and sort of some of the negatives. So the pros for me this season are, I love the new affixes. I think they're really good. I love like the fortified tyrannical every week. I like the kiss curse, that kind of stuff. I'm not 100% happy with the 15-second death timer because I think it's just a bit too punishing, but I'll get into that. On a general level, I like the affixes. I like that week to week, day to day, you're playing the dungeon, not the affix. You used to look at, oh, what is it this week? Oh, it's Sanguine? Oh man, okay, I'm not going to step foot in that dungeon this week or that dungeon, etc. Whereas week to week, dungeon to dungeon, you're getting a pretty similar experience, and I think that's good. There is still a smidge of variety depending on what key level you're capping out at, so I think that's pretty good. Also, I love the relative sort of key range. I think that's better. You're closer to Legion feeling, where there was a reason to go into lower level dungeons and help friends out and stuff. Like this crest system combined with key level ranges being like a 10 is where you're capping out at loot. It doesn't feel so bad if your friend's doing like a 6 or a 7 or something. And you're like, oh yeah, I'll come help you out because actually I can get some crests and that's kind of still beneficial for me. So I'm still progressing my character a bit and I'm helping out a friend. So it's a nice thing. I know for me personally, I've been in situations before where friends say, hey, do you want to come do this key? And I'm like, not really, because it's just, I get absolutely nothing for it. Now, yeah, I might still go help him because I'm a nice buddy, but it doesn't feel fun because you're like, well, why am I here? I'm not really getting anything. So I like this closer key range. You feel a lot closer to some of the top pushers, and yeah, so I like that. The negatives, though, of the system, and this is what I want to get into. So obviously we know that this is an incredibly buggy season overall, from class spec stuff and classes just being broken to raid bosses and dungeon bosses and all that kind of stuff just being bugged out the wazoo. And so I don't want to go into that too much because that's obviously an issue, but that's not something that I'm going to throw solutions to in this video. So some of the negatives I think of the system right now. The jump between 11 and 12 is quite daunting for a lot of people, and I think it creates a lot of unnecessary pressure and a potential increasing toxicity in the dungeons because you get into the 12 level range and people kind of need to play perfect. And actually, even in the 7 plus range where you get this 15-second death timer, people kind of need to play perfect a lot of the time because a wipe now is equivalent to 3 wipes last expansion. It's quite significant, and in 12 and up, it's enough where your key is over. Now, I was listening in on JB playing today, and he was talking about the fact that death timer either needs to be impactful, in which it is with a 15-second death timer, or needs to just be removed completely, and there is no death penalty. Now, I think that could cause some weird stuff if there was no death penalty. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea. Definitely something that Blizzard could maybe review and see, like, okay, are we happy with this 15-second death timer or not? For me personally, I don't really like it too much because as soon as somebody dies in the group, I hate them. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't think we should be encouraging people right now to, like, oh, this person's dead, I hate them with all of my being because the key is over, probably. So that's obviously a big pressure, so I think that's something that could be looked at. Failing a key is so punishing that people are more picky with what they take. This is something that I think we can all see. You're in the LFG for ages. You see one guy signed up to a plus whatever, and it's just them sitting there for ages and ages and ages. And you can see, like, you'll go do, like, 2 keys, and then their group is still sitting there. Like, wow, this guy's being super picky. And I think the system encourages you to be incredibly picky, to be very selective. Take no risks, okay? Oh, whoa, this Shadow Priest is, like, 3k IO. Should I take him? And you're like, no, because I don't know what they're going to do, but I know the Elemental Shaman's probably going to blast, I know the Frosty K is probably going to blast, etc. So this system encourages people to be very selective, go toward the tried and tested method of meta only, and those specs that they're seeing the high key pushers playing, they're going to go for those, they're going to take the no risks, and they're going to be more picky, which means fewer people are getting invited to keys, ultimately. And it also makes it so that when you're not playing meta, it's incredibly frustrating. And I don't think the game should encourage people to be like, right, I have to re-roll if I want to have an enjoyable experience in this game. The next thing is the key holder holds all of the risk. This is another area of risk. You can see recurring themes here of like risk, toxicity, fear, like it's the Shars, okay? We go to Pandaria, you got the Shar of Anger, the Shar of Fear, the Shar of Mythic Plus. That's what's happening here. But the key holder, like, the reason I don't like the current system is because Blizzard talks about, oh, well, the reason we still have depleting in the game is because there should be some risk when you're going into this content. And I fundamentally disagree. I don't understand why there needs to be risk. I think having a timer on the board is already scary for a lot of people. And I'm not making this up. I've spoken to people who say, the timer thing, it just stresses me out. Like, I feel just, you know, sort of like claustrophobic or whatever, where they just feel like the walls are caving in because it's like, oh, are we going to make it? And there's that stress associated to it. So I think that alone is enough for people. And obviously the risk of, like, making mistakes and failing and stuff in general, of just not playing well. I think that's enough of a punishment. I don't think you need the layered feeling of, I've depleted somebody else's key, and I've died because I've failed, and I've let everybody down. And now I know 4 players in this group are upset with me. I don't think anybody likes that feeling. I don't think anybody should need to go through that feeling. I think a way better experience could be like, man, I played like absolute crap in that dungeon, but you know what? This person can go out the dungeon, they can re-enter with a new group, and they can time that key. Thank God I've not ruined somebody else's like experience with it, you know? Because that just creates way more of a positive experience, in my opinion. Now, yes, I don't like Blizzard talks about the idea of players taking risk. Well, there's only one person in a dungeon taking a risk, and it's the key holder. Nobody else loses anything if that person's key depletes. Now, what could be cool is if when a key depletes, everybody else's keystone in their bag also goes down a level. That could be good. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like that idea. So it's only the one person who's taking the risk, which I think is uneven. It's not fair, right? Like the scales of imbalance there where there's only one person with all the pressure. I personally don't really like pushing my own key, because let's say I have a 14 Arakara. I don't, I have a 14 Grimbatol, but whatever. Say I have a 14 Arakara. I'm super excited to do that key. And we take a really good group, but we just have 1 or 2 like mistakes, whatever, just one mistake. Key's going really smooth. We get toward the end, last boss, whatever. We have one little mistake and the key's over. Well, now my keys are 13. Now my options for a group are a lot worse than what I had from the 14. In the 14, I probably had the best players in the world. In the 13, I have some really good players, but we can still make some mistakes. Then let's say I deplete that one again. Okay, well, now I've depleted 2 keys. I'm a little bit tilted because I had a 14. Now I've got a 12. I don't need the 12. The 12 doesn't give me anything. So now I'm kind of annoyed. But I queue it up anyway. I finally get a group. Now, my selection of people for that key are probably going to be people that have only done 11s. Maybe they've done 1 or 2 12s. Maybe. So the pool of which I'm selecting from is increasingly getting worse. Or the pool I'm selecting from is decreasing in maybe skill, item level, experience, whatever. And that is really frustrating if you're somebody who, like myself, currently is at like the 3k point. Okay, I'm on my alt right now. I'm at like the 3k point, and then if I have to sort of come down, then I'm annoyed, and I don't want to have to rebuild my key. Now, one advantage of the current system that I will say is right now it's super easy to 2 chests in 11, and then you get like your 13 back. Okay, cool. But there's always this gamble of what key you're going to get, etc. And it just takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time if you're hunting for a specific key. Like for me, for example, okay, not on this, but on my main, I specifically only need like 1 or 2 more 13 keys. I think it's actually only, yeah, it's Stone Vault and Cot. Those are the only 2 keys I still needed a 13. Everything is 13 or higher. So if I push my own key that week, it takes me a long time to get the key that I actually want to get the score from. And then if it depletes, my kind of week's over. You know, it's really frustrating. Now also, a big one is depleting a key results in a group disbanding more often than not. Because like the key's over, that's why we all came here, that's what we all wanted. Now that's gone, there's no point still playing together. Even if the team was really good, you had a really good solid team, like everyone was happy, people were kicking and stunning and this and that, and they were doing a lot of damage, and like everything was just clicking. But you know, that's the way of things. Sometimes you just fail. Even when everyone's doing a good job, you still fail sometimes. Okay, well, wouldn't that be fantastic if you could just go back in and try again? Now, I'll get into why I think these solutions would be so good in a moment, but I'll talk lastly about the last issue here. So, timing a key, but getting a key people don't need also is a disband. So even if you have a really competent group, you time that key, yo, sick, let's go do the next key, let's go. We just timed the 8, let's go do the 9. Oh, wait, nobody needs that key at a 9? Oh, well, that's annoying. Okay, I guess we've got to disband then, and then we've got to go risk, you know, go back to LFG hell. So even if you do well, you've only got maybe 30 minutes of content. And even if you timed a key, you know that what's happening next is that the key's going to disband and you're all going to go your separate ways. And it feels pretty solemn because, man, if only we'd stuck together and could have done keys that we actually all wanted to do. And that's where I think the system is failing to encourage these positive experiences and instead is encouraging negative experiences or sort of pug culture. The system fundamentally does not encourage pre-made culture. It doesn't. Anytime a key depletes, you disband. Anytime you don't need the key that you want, the group disbands. Like, it just doesn't encourage long-term play with a group of people, whether that be the whole day, 6-hour day or something, or the whole weekend maybe, or that season, whatever it may be. It doesn't encourage this behavior. It doesn't encourage people to get into a pre-made environment, and that is fundamentally where the system is just failing. At a fundamental level, Mythic Plus should be encouraging people to want to form a pre-made, just the way that raiding does. Yeah, you can pug Heroic. You might not get Queen and Strike, but you can pug most of it. Can you pug Mythic? Yeah, this season you can pug a few bosses. Can you pug all of it? No. So what does that encourage you to do? Go and find a guild, you know? Now, my solutions. You probably guessed it, but I think removal of key depletes. It's toxic, it creates this angry environment, it creates this, like, uneasy environment, it creates this, like, environment in which people get really hard on themselves. I'm guilty of it. I played horribly in a dungeon last night. Healer laughed at me on the last boss because I died to something silly. Played horrible. I felt horrible. I did not feel like, oh, you know what I want to do? Queue up again. So I think taking off some of that pressure would alleviate a lot of these issues. And not just how people feel, but genuinely how people interact with the content. I think remove key depletes and also allow people to queue whichever dungeon they want. So in your bags, you have a plus 12 key. You can go into any dungeon, you can input that into any dungeon. That way, if you and a group of friends want to just knock out Necrotic Wake that week and you just want to get really good at Necrotic Wake and try and push that key up, go for it. You know what it's also more akin to? The Great Push, which is their premier esports event. So it also allows the player base to sort of engage in the system in a more similar way to that of the great push, which also encourages more people to maybe push into that esports scene and encourages greater engagement there. That's a good thing. Players are more likely to stick together if the team was decent, right? So you have a decent team, maybe you didn't complete that key in time, but you can go again, or you can try a different key, or whatever. If you're spending more time with a group of people, then you have a greater chance of forming a more long-term team. You go, yo, me and those 4 dudes absolutely killed it yesterday. Maybe we can play again today. Added them all on Battle.net. Yo, you guys wanna go again today? Cool. Now you got a weekend group or something, or that season group or whatever. It encourages that. It doesn't guarantee it, but it encourages it. So players are more likely, I think as well, players would be more likely to take chances on off-meta specs, because the worst case scenario is we can just go again. For example, right now, I'm 3,050 IO on my Feral Druid. I'm like top 3 Feral in the world, yada yada, yay, 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 yay. Hurrah. And people see me and they go, yo, big Feral. And they invite me, like they invite me and then they say that, yo, big Feral, yada yada. Like every key since I've been 3K has just been like, whoa, big Feral, not seen that this season, etc. So people are taking a chance on me. They say, whoa, this off-meta spec is high IO. This guy's either going to be really good or he's been hard carried. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. And they're taking a risk on me. But if the key can't deplete and they can just go again, then people will be more inclined to go, yo, this person isn't playing a meta right now, but they look really strong. I'm not seeing a Frosty K sign up, or the Frosty Ks that are signing up are pretty weak. All right, let me take this guy who's 100, 200 IO higher than any of my other options. And then, if we fail, then whatever, we'll just go again, and maybe in 30 minutes there is a big Frosty K. Cool. Like, it's not a big deal then, and you are more likely to maybe take that risk, because why not? It might pay off. You might find a really sick off-meta player. Now, I want to talk about the whole, like, there being a risk from keys. Like, if keys can't deplete, then there's no risk from them, but you are wasting your time. And if people have finite time that they can play each week or day or whatever, then wasting that time is, like, still impactful. But it's less frustrating when mistakes are occurring. It's less frustrating when you go into a key and you talk for 20 minutes about, yeah, do this, do that, right, you grab spear, you use that, okay, we're going to shroud this, and make sure you purge that dude, and then you go into the key, and in the first pull, shit hits the fan and you all deplete, and then everyone just bounces, everybody just leaves, and you've been sitting in queue for 45 minutes, and that's your experience? My little brother, who's a classic WoW player, has had that experience all day today. It's just that, key depleting in the first pull. Tank just drops because the healer, didn't catch him for a second, and boom, key's over. And you're like, what is going on here? We could restrict this system to only in 12s and up. Now, it doesn't affect too many people at that point, maybe only a couple thousand. But for those people that do specifically really just want to push, like myself and other streamers, yada yada, there is an audience for it. Maybe just restrict keys not being able to deplete 12 and up. And then that way, people can just, like, actually get involved in that system and check it out. And then it doesn't affect too much, like, the gearing system or whatever. So, fair enough. Okay. Now, saying keys can't deplete, obviously, if you don't complete your key in the timer, it won't improve. I'm not saying we should only ever be able to time keys. Like, that wouldn't make sense. But just it can't go down would be good. And then I think also it helps get people out of queue hell. I think all of these things, all these benefits help get people out of just that endless queue cycle and get people into the content, engaging with the content, playing their class, have a better experience. People are hopefully less toxic, more understanding, more forgiving, and overall people can just have a way more positive experience across the content. This is my argument for this. I'm happy to hear people agreeing, disagreeing, or whatever. But if you are going to disagree with me, actually come with something interesting. Not just, oh, you just want the game to be easy. From people who are 400 IO lower than me. You know what I mean? Like, come with actual arguments as to why this wouldn't be a good thing. And I'll hear you out and have a conversation. But this hopefully is something that Blizzard would review and hopefully can just help make this system a more positive, fun, engaging thing that actually promotes long-term pre-made play. Because right now, it fundamentally doesn't, and it's a problem, in my opinion. Alright, dudes, thanks for watching. Different video from my normal content, but yes, thanks for watching. Take care. See you in the next one.